away. Good hands by Allen. And Sheldon comes up with the steal. Sheldon going coast to coast. And here's we got another break is here as Jacy Sheldon goes right after Sophie Cunningham. It was a hard foul, no question. So that was called a flagrant. Those two were technicals. Charles got a technical. And then Mabrey for what we thought should have been 2 technicals and ejection. It was called just 1.
What happens when you injure someone and think you'll just walk away like nothing happened? On May 30th, during a regular season game between the Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun, something crossed the line from competitive to downright danger. Jacy Sheldon wasn't playing tough defense, she was out there hunting bodies. First, it was Sophie Cunningham. A brutal collision left her limping off the court, part of her front tooth gone, and her ankle visibly damaged. Then, as if one injury wasn't enough, Sheldon struck again. This time, she dove right into Sydney Colson's leg during a loose ball scramble, twisting it in a way that made everyone watching wince. Both hits, same player, same game, zero accountability.
Eyeball. Caitlin Clark nudges her off because Jacy stays in her face. And then Tina Charles runs over and is kind of wagging her finger in Caitlin Clark's face. And then Marina Mabrey comes out of nowhere and chucks her.
What the commissioner should do? Mabrey should be out for 10 games. 10 games at least. I mean, you've got to, at some point, the commissioner has to step in. Let me rephrase. At some point, Adam Silver of the NBA look.
The officials didn't call it dirty. They barely called it at all. And while the WNBA stayed silent, Indiana was taking notes. You could feel it. The quiet kind of rage that builds when you know you've been wronged and no one's going to fix it for you. Sheldon walked off that court untouched, unbothered, and acting like she hadn't just taken out 2 players in one night. And while she went on with her season, Sophie Cunningham sat on the bench in pain. Colson missed game. And Caitlin Clark? She watched it all happen. You think she forgot? Think again.
Mabrey did a straight beeline run to Caitlin Clark and checked her. You got Lexi Hollis saying, Jacy, what the hell is wrong with you? This was all game, folks. All game. Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever were getting.
Fast forward to June 17th. This wasn't just a game, it was personal. The Fever had circled this date on their calendar. This wasn't about standings or stats. This was about payback. Real payback. And Sheldon? She was about to feel the weight of every foul she got away with. Because Indiana didn't just want the win, they wanted justice. Some rivalries start with a handshake. This one started with a shove.
Didn't automatically throw her ass right out of that arena is exactly why all eyes are on the WNBA, the commissioner, Adam Silver, the NBA.
Before the WNBA spotlight, Caitlin Clark and Jacy Sheldon were already enemies on the college stage. Clark with Iowa, Sheldon with Ohio State. But this wasn't just competition. This was something nastier. Sheldon didn't just try to defend Clark. She tried to break her rhythm, her focus, and sometimes her spirit.
And then here comes Marina Mabrey. Boom! Exploding Caitlin Clark like a safety coming downhill in the NFL. There was no flop there. Marina Mabrey did a straight.
Every time they met, Sheldon made it personal. She'd shadow Clark from baseline to baseline, throw cheap bumps on screens, whisper trash in her ear during dead balls, and stare her down like it was some kind of war. It was obvious to anyone paying attention, Sheldon wasn't trying to beat Clark. She was trying to rattle her. And when that didn't work, she got physical. Clark, for all her calm on the surface, never forgot that. Every jab, every shove, every smirk from Sheldon when things got dirty. It wasn't strategy, it was targeted disruption. Sheldon didn't just want to win games. She wanted to throw Clark off her game by any means necessary.
Got them straight out of Sephora because I don't think these referees have ever refereed a professional basketball game in their life. They took these referees, they were at the monitor, they looked at it for, I'm not even exaggerating, you guys, like 15.
This wasn't just a clash of 2 players, it was a collision of respect versus resentment. Clark earned her spotlight. Sheldon couldn't stand it, so she made it her mission to ruin it, over and over. And now, both of them are on the same WNBA stage, with history, hostility, and unfinished business. But the tension between them? That was just the beginning. What happened during their next meeting would cross the line from rivalry to outright chaos.
Everybody is fully aware. All right? We're not talking about basketball after these games. We're talking about incidents. I just said yesterday or the day before, we're talking about an incident once or twice a week, every week in this league.
You can only poke the bear so many times before it turns. With the game heating up and the tension already thick, Jacy Sheldon made the kind of move that you don't come back from. Clark was bringing the ball up the floor, focused, controlled, locked in. Then suddenly, Sheldon swiped at her face. Not the ball, her face, and her finger landed right in Caitlin Clark's eye. Clark's head jerked back instantly. You could see the pain on her face. Not just physical pain, but the frustration, the insult, the disbelief that once again this same player was pulling the same reckless, dirty tactics and getting away with it. The entire arena saw it. Fans were gasping. Fever teammates were already off the bench. And Sheldon? She just stood there. No apology, no reaction. Just that same smug energy she always brought when things got nasty. This wasn't some random accident. It wasn't a clumsy play. It was personal. The same player who took out 2 Fever players just weeks ago had now gone after the franchise's biggest star. And just like before, the refs looked the other way. But Clark didn't. She squared up. She pushed Sheldon back. A natural reaction. Anyone with eyes could see that. You get poked in the eye. You don't just smile and walk away. But somehow, instead of punishing the player who caused the contact, the refs gave Clark a technical foul for standing up for herself, for reacting like a human being. It was the moment that proved something very clear. Caitlin Clark was being targeted, and the league was letting it happen. But that wasn't the end of it, because someone else was watching from the sideline, and she was about to step in like no one saw coming. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, it did. Caitlin Clark had just been poked in the eye by Jacy Sheldon. She was squinting, trying to see straight, clearly in pain. But before she could even recover, Marina Mabrey came charging in, not to play basketball, but to make a statement, a violent one. Out of nowhere, Mabrey slammed into Clark with a hit that looked more like something out of an NHL fight than a WNBA game. No ball, no defense, just a full body check that sent Clark crashing to the ground. The arena exploded. Fans were shouting, players were jumping up, and chaos took over. Let's be clear, this wasn't some tangle under the rim or an accidental bump. This was deliberate. Mabrey didn't stumble into Clark. She targeted her. And she followed through with the kind of hit you only deliver when you're looking to send a message. What's worse, the officials saw it. Everyone saw it. Replay after replay showed the same thing, a blindside shove on an already injured player. But instead of ejecting Mabrey on the spot, they hesitated. They watched the footage for nearly 15 minutes and still handed out nothing more than a basic technical foul. The same penalty Clark got for pushing Sheldon after getting eye-poked. Make it make sense. Mabrey's hit wasn't a basketball play. It was a cheap shot. Plain and simple. And the message it sent was loud. Go after Clark, and you might get away with it. The refs had a chance to stop it, and they blew it. Caitlin Clark just got poked in the eye by Jacy Sheldon. Then, seconds later, she got blindsided by Marina Mabrey in one of the most reckless hits we've seen all season. Obvious, aggressive, and caught on replay from every angle. So what did the refs decide to do? They gave everyone a technical foul. That's right, Clark, who had just been attacked, got the same penalty as the player who shoved her and the one who body-checked her to the floor. Let that sink in. Clark reacts to getting jabbed in the eye and pushed off, and she's the one punished. Meanwhile, Mabrey, who launched herself into Clark like a linebacker, only gets a slap on the wrist. No ejection, no flagrant, just a lazy technical, like it was no big deal. Fans lost it. Commentators were stunned. Even people in the crowd could be seen pointing at the replay screen, completely shocked that this was the league's response. And you could feel it. This wasn't just a bad call. It was a message, a dangerous one. The message was clear. If you go after Caitlin Clark, don't worry, the refs won't stop you. And if she fights back, she's the one who pays for it. It didn't feel like a game anymore. It felt like a setup, like they were letting players target her without consequences. And when the ones who get hurt are the ones getting punished, you know something's broken. But Indiana wasn't about to let it slide, because someone else was watching it all unfold, and she was ready to send a message the refs couldn't ignore. When the officials fail to do their job, someone has to speak up, and Coach Stephanie White did it with zero hesitation. After watching her star player get poked in the eye, shoved to the floor, and then punished for reacting, White had seen enough. In the post-game press conference, she didn't hold back. She didn't sugarcoat it. She exposed the truth everyone in the arena already knew. The refs had completely lost control of the game. But she didn't stop there. White called out a bigger issue. This wasn't a one-time thing. According to her, the officials had been allowing reckless, dangerous play all season. Players were being thrown to the ground, targeted, and injured while the refs just stood there pretending nothing happened. She said it plain, this is what happens when you let it go unchecked. She wasn't just defending Caitlin Clark. She was standing up for every player who's been pushed around with no protection. And she made it crystal clear, if the refs won't do their job, then don't be shocked when coaches and players start taking matters into their own hands. You could see the frustration boiling in her face, in her voice. This wasn't just about basketball. It was about safety, about respect, and about a league that keeps ignoring the warning signs until someone gets seriously hurt. White lit the match, and what followed next? That was the explosion. Some players send messages with words. Sophie Cunningham used force. With less than a minute left and the Fever already up big, most players would be coasting to the buzzer. But not Sophie. She wasn't thinking about the score, she was thinking about May 30th, about the injury that sidelined her, about the pain, the disrespect, and how Jacy Sheldon walked off that court like nothing happened. Now Sheldon was sprinting toward the basket for a fast break, and Sophie saw her shot, not at the ball, but at Justice. She lined her up and wrapped her up in midair. A full-force bear hug that dragged Sheldon straight to the floor. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't accidental. It was payback, clear as day. And everyone in that arena knew it. The officials didn't hesitate. Flagrant 2. Automatic ejection. Cunningham was gone, but she didn't look surprised. She didn't even flinch, because she knew exactly what she came to do, and she did it. Sheldon laid on the ground stunned, and for once, not because she was the one delivering the hit. She had finally gotten a taste of what she'd been dishing out all season. And the crowd? They loved it. Fans were chanting Sophie's name. Fever teammates were hyped. It didn't matter if it cost her a few minutes of game time. She stood on business. She sent a message no ref could ignore. You target Caitlin Clark? You target Indiana? Then you better be ready for the response. Because this time, someone did fight back. After Sophie Cunningham's hard foul dropped Jacy Sheldon to the floor, everything exploded. Players rushed in. Words were flying. Shoves followed. It was the kind of moment where lines get drawn, and people pick side. And when the dust settled, 3 players were tossed from the game. Sophie Cunningham? Ejected. No surprise there. She made her point and took the consequences head on. Jacy Sheldon? Gone too. After all the chaos she caused, from the eye poke to the running tensions, it was only a matter of time before her number got called. She wasn't the victim. She was the spark. And Lindsay Allen? Caught in the crossfire and tossed with them, just adding more fuel to the fire. But here's the part that really mattered. This wasn't about a flagrant or a technical. It was about the Fever sending a clear message. We're done playing nice. You take cheap shots at us, and we will respond. The ejections didn't weaken the team, they empowered them. It showed they weren't afraid to stand up and push back, even if it meant going out swinging. What started with silence and soft calls ended in a roar from the court, from the bench, and from the fan. Because sometimes, the scoreboard isn't where the real victory happens. You can target her, you can foul her, you can try to shut her down, but Caitlin Clark still wins. After being poked in the eye, shoved to the floor, and hit with a technical foul for simply defending herself, Clark didn't fold, she took over. She dropped 20 points and dished out 6 assists like nothing had happened, like all the chaos around her was just noise. And while the Sun were unraveling, Clark stayed calm. Every bucket she hit felt like a punch back at the narrative that she's too soft for the league. She controlled the pace, made the right reads, and punished defenders who thought they could rattle her. They tried to break her spirit. She answered with bucket. The final score? 88-71. A blowout. A statement. A warning. This win didn't just feel good, it made history. For the first time ever, the Indiana Fever are heading to the Commissioner's Cup final. A franchise that's been mocked, ignored, and written off is suddenly standing on top. And it's no mystery why. Clark didn't just lead. She lifted the whole team. She turned every cheap shot into motivation, and every assist into momentum. Even with one eye still watering from the hit, she saw the court clearer than anyone else. But don't be fooled. This wasn't just a basketball win. It was a message to every player, coach, and referee who thought they could silence her. You can attack the player, but good luck breaking the team. That night, the Indiana Fever didn't just play basketball. They took a stand. When the refs failed to protect Caitlin Clark, again, it wasn't a coach or a whistle that stepped in. It was her teammate. It was Sophie Cunningham. And that's what separates the Fever from teams like the Connecticut Sun. When chaos broke out, Indiana didn't scatter. They closed ranks. They stood together. And they made it clear, if the league won't defend their star, they'll handle it themselves. Sophie didn't foul Sheldon out of frustration. She did it out of loyalty. After weeks of watching Clark get body-checked, eye-poked, and targeted with 0 consequences, she finally said, enough. And she meant it. One hard foul said more than any post-game press conference ever could. This wasn't about playing dirty. It was about protecting your own. The refs let it get out of hand. The league stayed silent. But the Fever? They backed each other every step of the way. They showed the entire WNBA that toughness isn't just about muscles or trash talk, it's about family. You don't mess with one of them without answering to all of them. And if the league won't send a message to stop the cheap shots, trust me, Indiana already did. Loud and clear.